today will just be an open discussion, a little more laid back, and then we'll hopefully have something better for September and October.
Awesome.
So
All right.
Trevor's not here. He's like Old Faithful.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was surprised Trevor wasn't on. I don't know what he's up to. Could try to
Yeah,
text him.
In that
could
exact
message him.
order, Old Faithful.
I still can't believe for the one that's the biggest audiophile probably of all of us, his setup for doing these calls is like the worst of everyone.
That is true. It's like you would think he'd have much better mic and
We're just
like
getting rid of the
headset
damn
or
servers.
something.
He's got all those servers in that room. He can't hear anything.
Yeah, a lot of electronics projects and stuff going on that make tons of noise. So.
Jesse, you got your showing your guns there.
Yeah, I know. Gotta even out that farmer's tan. Can't be having those sleeves.
Is that one of those headsets that when you put the mic up, it mutes automatically? Is that?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
sweet. Yeah.
That way I don't have to keep,
Very
searching.
cool.
The only problem is if it's not connected to the app,
Mm.
like for instance Teams, Teams could automatically mute me and then pull this down and it doesn't actually mute me, and I may be like, not close to my computer, so they're like, hello, or are you going to give a status? I'm like, oh, dang
It's
it.
not unmuting me.
It's not. Yeah, I have to unmute it under Teams. I'm like, I hate that.
Mine has a
But
similar feature, but it'll sometimes decide that it never wants to unmute again. And
Oh.
it'll beep. It'll do the beep when you put it down, and then it stays
Yeah.
muted anyway.
Nice.
I wish my keyboard had a mute because that's usually where my hands are at.
So have you? I don't know if anybody else has seen these. Maybe I could pull my camera down there, but you can get these little USB devices called a Stream Deck, and it has a whole bunch of keys that you can assign basically macro shortcuts to. But one that I have there is mute and unmute. Yeah, if you just go on Google and search for Stream Deck, apparently a lot of streamers
Stream
use
Deck.
them to have shortcuts to stuff. But like I've got one that shows like stock prices and a bunch of one clicks for launching various apps and like a little CPU one, but you can each individual square is like a little mini 64 by 64 pixel screen that you can make whatever icon you want, and I put my mute and unmute right on that. It's kind of neat.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a cool
Nice.
idea. I mean, it's kind of expensive for what it is, but I didn't get the real big one, but yeah, they're pretty handy, and they also just look cool. Like if you're into just having cool looking
Elgato
gadgets
makes
sitting
good
on your
stuff, too.
desk. Yeah. Their software is great. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I like it, and you can definitely get like mute, unmute, volume up, volume down. I have one that runs. This is super geeky, but I've got a VR headset, and the VR headset has its own microphone and speakers because it's got headphones. And so whenever you run the VR stuff, it like switches your default audio inputs back to the wrong stuff. So sometimes when I join a meeting, like people can hear me but barely because it's using the mic on the VR headset rather than
Across
the one that's
the room.
exactly rather than the right one.
Yeah.
So I've got a macro that it's like VR audio setup, and then one that's like normal headset audio setup. And if things aren't working, I just hit that, and it like goes and sets everything to the correct inputs and defaults.
Nice.
So little stuff.
So
like
Justin,
this.
are you recording?
I am recording. Yes.
Cool. Thanks for doing that. Yeah, I'll try to figure out some way to do that. Like I said, the Mac has a built-in recording feature, but I haven't got it to work with anything except the external microphone input.
Yep.
So it can record me talking. I just can't get you guys.
Got it.
And can Jitsi have any native recording that you've researched?
Yeah. So I did research one, and I even tried to start deploying it. And actually, whoever's screen sharing, do a search for Jibri, Jibri, and we can look at it real quick. And the amount of stuff you have to do to set this up, Jibri, wow. Yeah, that GitHub link right there, not the fashion conscious for curvy plus size women thing. So Jibri provides services for recording or streaming a Jitsi Meet conference. And what it does is you deploy a whole nother virtual machine on Ubuntu 16 or whatever you want to, and it shows up as like another participant.
It's kind of like a bot.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, a bot that records it. But like if you just scroll down, like to shows, look at all these prerequisites. Okay, that's installing it. Now you got to do Google Chrome and Chrome driver. So you've got to install Chrome, and then keep going down. You have to create some users and groups and assign them permissions. And then you need this thing called Prosody that you have to install and set up authentication. Like what I got about 3/4 of the way through this, and luckily I snapshotted my Jitsi environment because I totally hosed my Jitsi environment trying to set this up. Yeah, and this was on another VM, and so I rolled everything back, and I was like, okay. I spent like 2-3 hours trying to get it going, and it was not quick, and it was not easy. And it's not like I don't do this sort of stuff frequently, so I was pretty amazed how non-user-friendly it was.
They should just provide a VM to download.
Totally, that's already configured, and that you just point, and it's got like a Python script that sets it all up or whatever, and does all this stuff that you have to do.
Would that record for each meeting automatically, or is there a button that pops into the
There's a button
Jitsi
that
Meet?
pops into Jitsi, and that's another thing that you have to do is somewhere in here you have to like go set up, put something in, a piece of code to set up the actual button.
Create a button.
Exactly, and then there's permissions around who actually gets the button and stuff, and it got pretty involved, and I was like,
if it's just the moderator or not. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, or if anybody can record, etc. So
I mean, that'd be cool if it was a plugin, like Jitsi had a way to have a plugin and just did all that for you, right? So you just install plugin, and then boop, there's a button now.
Yeah.
And it just works. But
I mean, it looks cool. If I could get it to work, I would be thrilled.
That would be really nice.
Yeah, and as you can see there, it's intended to be run on a separate machine VM with no other applications using display or audio devices. Only one recording at a time is supported on a single Jibri. So that's the other thing. If you are hosting multiple meetings on your Jitsi, you would need a number of Jibri servers equal to the number of simultaneous recordings you wanted to allow.
So because it can only record one at a time, one meeting at a time.
Because it's like capturing from the system. So, like you literally install Chrome, and even though there's no GUI, it's joining the meeting in a like command line version of Chrome, and then redirecting all of that into MP4 somehow using FFmpeg with X11 capture.
Yeah, I feel like that's not the right way to do it. I mean, because then you have to go to like, okay, maybe you can use Docker inside the VM of the Jitsi server and then have it spin up dynamic Docker instances for each meeting that starts up. And
yeah, it seems
but then it's like, is that the right way? I mean, isn't there a
It should just be added to Jitsi natively, and they should add something to be able to record it. But this is something that I think somebody besides the core Jitsi team put together, but it still seems to be the default for it. And if you actually go to the official Jitsi website, it's what they use on their site to provide recording. So it's still on my to-do list to get it working. Yeah, I still want to get this. I still want to get it working, but I gave it the college try and failed that class, and now need to retake it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know what does recording out of the box?
Jitsi Video Bridge. What does recording out of the box?
Zoom, but nobody here likes Zoom for some reason.
I think that's mainly a Trevor thing. Like
Weird.
I've actually got a paid Zoom account through my work that I use a lot, and I'm fine with it. But I get that, and I mean it's kind of in the flavor and feeling of like full stack and Confluent to be like, why just use something that just works when you can put a whole bunch of work into building your own one of it, and it will work. Not quite as good, but close.
But you have full control.
You totally have full control.
You are the
Way more
king of
secret
shit
that way.
mountain.
Yeah.
I do like that I don't have to run their stupid app.
That is, I love that Jitsi is all HTML5. That's the most impressive thing about it to me, because I can't tell you how frustrated I get having like every single freaking meeting I have to join. Like, oh, you guys use
A new app.
BlueJeans. Okay, use
Yeah.
Zoom. Oh, you guys use WebEx. Oh, you guys use GoToMeeting.
Uber conference. and-
Yeah. Oh, you guys
Yeah.
use
Now-
Teams. I think I have literally like 8 or 9 different media.
I do find it
platforms installed.
disturbing that Jitsi is like, no, if you join a meeting, your camera is on and there's no pre-room.
Oh, there's no like lobby and there's no join with camera disabled. Like it's just
Like-
boom.
You have a
Well,
camera,
give-
it's on.
You give permissions though, don't you, on join?
The
Like it
very
asks you.
first
It's
time
type-
on the site, it's like, "Can I access your camera?" And you're like, "Okay," and then boom, like you're on and you're streaming.
I thought it was tied in with the audio request as well. They were together.
Maybe they are. I think I saw it pop up twice, like once for mic and once for video, but I don't remember. Maybe
Maybe.
it was all just one together.
Yeah, that's pretty good quality though, considering that it's ran over a web browser.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
Yeah.
All
Shigazi.
right.
Wow, there's a SIP gateway that allows you to be. That probably lets you dial in and stuff. There's a lot of stuff here I need to research because it looks like they got some cool stuff.
Yeah, look, there's a desktop client.
There
Kevin
you go.
Harr would like to speak. Go on ahead, hand raise.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just clicking buttons.
Yeah.
I told him he needs my permission to.
Hey, I need an adult, please.
All right. I guess let me run through what I have. I was going to start off with an icebreaker question, which we can still do, but I think everybody broke the ice.
Yeah,
the
ice
question
has been
was,
broken.
if you could hang out with any cartoon character, who would it be and why? This is the second time asking this question this week. And the first time I chose to go with Batman. But this time around, I think Archer is a less creepy choice, believe it or not.
What was the creepy choice? Because now I want to know what the creepy choice was.
Oh, Batman.
Oh, Batman. Okay.
Yeah. It's saying something when Archer is a less creepy choice. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's go. How about Kevin goes next?
I'm in for good old Uncle Iroh. 100%.
Uncle Iroh.
Yeah. From Last Airbender.
Oh, yeah, dude. I haven't watched all of the Last Airbender, although if it's still on Netflix, I've been trying to convince my daughter we should binge it. So
Yes. Yeah, I think it's still on there. I think the second adaptation is coming on in the next month too. Yeah.
nice. Cool.
All right, Orlando.
Do you know Futurama? I'd probably go for like Philip J. Fry or something like that.
Nice.
Gotta hang about the future, talk about the present, talk about the whole thing, how the world ends and it begins again. If you saw that episode.
Hey, there's Trevor.
Hey, Trevor. We're just trying to figure out if you
Cue the
what
servers.
you're up to.
Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, my audio coming through?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. I am just getting back on the road. I am in the middle of nowhere in Skagit in off the side of Mount Vernon, Washington.
Oh,
Nice.
awesome.
So I just saw that the meeting was starting, so I figured I'd at least drop in and say hi. But I am hitting the road, heading back to Tri-Cities after a nice little failure up here.
Nice little failure. What'd you fail at?
Yeah. Actually, I pulled a new flow meter head out of the box, and it went wonky, and it didn't do what it was supposed to do. So it was the pivotal piece of what I was installing, what I drove 5 freaking hours to come install.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
So I don't know.
Sorry.
Hopefully
dude.
I'm not interrupting anything, but otherwise I'll probably just mute back here and
Yeah.
Wait, before you get on the highway, you got to answer this icebreaker question. If you could hang out with any cartoon character, Who would it be and why?
You know, when I was a kid, I always wanted to hang out with Bugs Bunny. I don't know why, but I always thought, it was Bugs Bunny. And actually, if I had been a ham radio operator early enough, apparently I could have talked to Bugs Bunny on the ham radio, and if I was in the LA area.
Nice.
Nice.
That's cool.
I hear Michael Jordan has done that.
Well, let's see. When Michael Jordan did, I don't know if it was actually Mel Blanc used to go on ham radio and do voices and talk to people as Looney Tune voices. So
Nice.
when Michael Jordan did that movie, was that actually Mel Blanc?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who did Bugs Bunny's voice, but that was a horrible movie.
Question mark. Hopefully,
Yeah. All right. Who
No.
you got? Who you
All
got
right,
next, Michael?
He's cutting out. Who's next? How about Tom?
This is me.
oh yeah, it's a horrible movie, but yeah, I think I think Mel had passed on by then.
Right on.
You must be at AT&T.
I'm thinking Marvin the Martian.
Oh,
Okay.
Talk about the end of the world.
that's interesting one.
All right, Jesse.
I don't know. The first one that comes to mind, I was kind of thinking scientist, and maybe I might go with Rick Sanchez off Rick and Morty. Go on some crazy adventures.
Hold on, me? Nope.
What's that?
I think Trevor's audio
Yeah.
is somehow delayed.
Yeah,
You've got some major
your
latency.
connection.
Yeah. Well,
All right. Let's see. I think Justin's the last one.
yeah, and it's funny because I was actually going to say Rick Sanchez as well, but since you already took that, maybe I go with yeah. Who's the somebody mentioned Futurama? Who's the old scientist professor dude from Futurama? Is he just called the professor?
Professor Farnsworth.
Farnsworth.
Okay, so I'll go with Farnsworth. He seems like
Yep.
he'd probably be fun to hang out with.
That's Fry's great grandfather? Is that how many?
Yeah, something like that.
I did
yeah.
not
I think
know
his
that.
nephew, actually. Yeah.
Or uncle? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good piece
But I
of
forget how many
Futurama.
generations it was. But yeah, he's related to Fry.
Very
This
nice.
is a very revealing question. Let's. This is being recorded. Let's not go into that.
we'll leave the psychoanalysis for somebody like watching this years
Exactly.
later.
All right. The only other thing I wanted to show you guys was so this is the existing website. As you remember, the SSL certificate broke on it. It only shows in Safari now. It's got mine and Kevin's pretty faces on there.
Watch out.
Overall, it's a decent design. It's just a bootstrap template I took. It works. And let me see. There was a form here to actually submit a talk.
Nice.
And then there was a contact form. Oh, this is the contact. And then you could also look at the past talks, which hasn't been updated since we stopped doing talks. And then each talk itself had a link to the presenter's biography. So here's Chad, and then the talks that they've given in the past. And then also there was links to the meetup notes, which is on GitHub for anybody who was a super nerd, and then the actual recording on YouTube.
Cool.
Love it. That's
Um,
awesome.
Well, this was the existing site, right? Like this is a list of speakers. The thing is, I don't really want to maintain this site because it was built on Laravel, and I'm the only one who does Laravel. It's also an older version of Laravel that I haven't updated. And so I was thinking about switching to something like GitHub Pages, which is not as feature rich. So I accidentally went and created another organization, and I don't know why I did this. I think it was late at night. I already had an organization called Full Stack CC and GitHub. that has the existing site on there as well as the meetup
Nice.
notes. But anyway, I stole some Jekyll template and kind of came up with this. And by came up with, I mean I stole. And this template is very bare. Like it's just a Jekyll site running on GitHub.io, and that's it. Like there's nothing super special about it. It has
That's
a
simple.
blog post here. Yep,
You don't have to pay for it,
it's true.
right?
It actually goes out to Twitter. It links to all the appropriate things. It just sends up the email, just emailing me from the user's browser, not from a form. And then I need to figure out some way to replicate the past presentations on here as well. But yeah, it's just very, very bare. Like, I mean,
It's clean.
very bare.
Clean design, very clean design.
I like clean.
Minimal.
So-
Yeah.
Minimalist. Yeah.
Minimalist. Yeah.
All right. Well, you
Yeah.
guys like it? I mean, what do you
Looks-
think? Like, should I bother keeping this existing one because it looks prettier? Or...
If all the YouTube videos are in like a playlist somewhere, I would just put a link to the old videos on the playlist and be like, if you want them, they're over there. Otherwise, bare bones is probably
Well,
better.
I like to replicate these two pages in Jekyll somehow.
Mm.
I feel like they provide some value. It's just it won't look as pretty. I mean, technically, it can look pretty. Like this is all HTML. I would just have to rewrite all of it.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's totally doable. And the
Are you
source code
paying for
is-
the other hosting? Hosting the other one? Are you paying for that?
I already have a server out in AWS, so I am moving stuff out of that server. So I mean, if I did move this out, I would be one step closer to decommissioning it.
Mm.
But it's not like a big motivator.
Yeah, if you need capacity to host something somewhere, I can either host it here or I've got some AWS dedicated instances as well. I've got some Azure ones, and then I've got a bunch of my little MIDI data center here. I'm working on getting a load balancer set up so I can host multiple websites off my single IP address. So that
Using something like Nginx or something, or
yeah, I'll probably end up, since I work for VMware and we just acquired a what's the name of that load balancer company? We just acquired a load balancer company, so I can get demo licenses
F5?
for them. Not F5. I wish it would have been F5. Is actually oh god, what's the name of it? They make pretty cool like software-based load balancers versus appliances. But I'll probably end up using their one. But I've messed with F5s, Nginx. Avi Networks, yeah, AVI.
Mm.
So they make a like basically what do you call it? A load balancer that can run as a virtual appliance on-prem, but also can have members of pools that are running in things like Azure or AWS, and it sets up on those services natively.
oh, it just ties in a bunch of things.
Exactly. So that's like kind of their
So it's a cloud-based as opposed to like
yeah,
on-prem.
and what they're trying to get into, and what VMware is kind of looking at now, is with what they're calling cloud redundancy and resiliency. So rather than just having all your eggs in the Amazon basket and then having Amazon have a major outage like they've had in the past, having nodes in totally different cloud platforms with a load balancing solution that doesn't depend on any of them or is distributed across all of them.
Cloud agnostic.
Totally,
Buzzword.
which is it's really hard to. It sounds like it wouldn't be that difficult, but it ends up being pretty difficult to pull off because every one of these cloud vendors tries to.
Spin their own.
Yeah, they try to lock
It's
you
not
into their
standard at
platform.
all.
They're like, yeah, you want a load balancer? Okay, you need a Amazon Elastic load balancer, and you're like, well, what's that? And it's like it has its own API, its own way of configuring, its own everything, and it's all 100% Amazon proprietary and specific versus being universal.
That's the beauty of Kubernetes, right?
I mean, yeah, if you containerize stuff, but I think there is something to be said for using some of the features on these natively. And so what people have gotten into is, well, what if you can do something like Terraform and describe how the app should be set up? There's a load balancer here, these 3 nodes, this security setup, this firewall, and then you can publish it to whatever cloud you want. You can do Google Cloud Compute, you can do Amazon, you can do Azure, and it uses their native constructs, but your code that you're writing is platform agnostic. I don't know. We'll see how it ends up playing out. All this stuff is really new. It sounds like a good idea, but the devil's going to be in the details, and if it doesn't work as well as using them native, people probably won't adopt it very much.
Yeah,
we're actually thinking about giving a talk here on Terraform. So
I would love that.
Idea.
You should totally do a talk.
What? It's something that we use at Nike to be more cloud agnostic, just management, and it's a pretty good tool to work in, infrastructure as code and all.
Yep. All right, September.
There you go. That's the talk.
We'll put a pin in that.
Hey, Kevin, are you working for the Nike digital team that does like Nike.com and was running the big OpenStack deployment and everything, or are you with a different group?
I don't work for Nike.com, but there is a team, like a sister team to ours, that is called Nike Digital. It's their official name. We're on North America Tech. We're a geo-specific team.
Got it. Yeah, I worked a lot with Nike Digital. Like at this point, it was probably 2-3 years ago, helping them get VMware's OpenStack distribution stood up, and I feel kind of bad. I haven't talked to any of those guys in a long time, but VMware kind of abandoned that project. So, I mean, they still publish it, but like you can tell they've not putting near as much engineering effort into it, and I don't know. Nike was pretty tied into it, so I don't know where they're sitting now. Anyway.
Yeah. Interesting.
Cool.
About the website, though, Michael, I do like the old one. However, I don't want to be the one that's saying you have to do that just because it's a lot of work to maintain. Correct me if I'm wrong, but on contributing to it, you need like a Laravel license, right? Or there's like some sort of paywall that you need to be a contributor to that. Is that correct?
Nah, it's all out in the repo.
Okay. I thought there was something with setup that was tied behind like a paywall or something like that. But if there's not, then
no, it's just like nobody else really knows PHP or Laravel. And honestly, like it doesn't have to be in Laravel. Like this could just be all static HTML pages too. It's just taking the time to rewrite that as well. But
yeah, I would say whatever makes the maintainer's life easier. So and then if it's going to HTML, makes it so we can have more maintainers, even better.
Yeah, I think I haven't tried this, but I don't see why GitHub Pages wouldn't support a bare HTML site.
I would just use GitHub Pages with static HTML.
So you would avoid Jekyll?
Well, I mean, you could do Jekyll too. But, I just wouldn't use a framework like something that has to use a server. Or some crazy compilation like React or anything.
Yeah, I don't think it needs any of that. It'd be nice if anybody could, update this thing, or if it's just easier to do in general. And there's no back-end code to maintain or anything to update.
Right.
All right. Yeah, I'll figure that out. I'll see if I can maybe do an export of this into HTML and throw it in there somehow. Maybe like open up the source code and just copy and paste it into the index.html. It's all good.
Love it. I think you should just print the site as a PDF, and then just when you go to the base URL, it loads the PDF.
Yeah.
Well, I thought about hosting it off of S3 even.
Yeah.
But there's technically a charge to that, and GitHub Pages is free.
Yeah, I need to go clean up my S3 buckets because I got in the habit for a long time of when I needed to give somebody a link to a big file, I just throw it up in an S3 bucket, and so over the last 2 or 3 years, there's like all these massive files in S3 that I'm probably getting charged for. It's not much, but it adds up.
I've pretty much accepted that there's always going to be like a $1 charge in my AWS bill. I have no idea how to.
What it is.
Like, yeah.
They're as bad as like the phone bills. They try to make it as like difficult to understand. Although I've gotten some big, like the first one that was a real shocker for me was I had a like a 380 gig drive that costs a certain amount a month. You know, it's like $15-20 a month. It's pretty substantial. And I was doing updates on that system and I snapshotted it. Amazon charges you as soon as you snapshot a what do they call it? An elastic, whatever their volumes are.
Container service, or not container.
The hard drives. Anyway, yeah, like basically the hard drives that you can attach or detach to stuff to a
EBS.
EBS, Elastic Block Store. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Trevor has his hand up.
Yeah, as soon as you snapshot one of those, then they charge you double. Like you have 2 of those full, even if the snapshot's only like a megabyte. Trevor, did you have a comment or question?
Or maybe he
just clicked the hand. Good.
Yeah, no, actually, I accidentally hit the hand while trying to hit something else. Yeah, no, I'm having a little bit of a data connection here issue, but no, I'm not on AT&T. I think that was stated earlier.
Yeah.
I'm on Verizon, but I'm driving through the relative boonies of Western Washington, the farm fields. I am surprised how much different things they grow up here. So, anyways, back to the real geekery.
Yeah.
How much do you guys use AWS logs? You guys look at CloudWatch?
CloudWatch, yeah, I've used CloudWatch just to keep an eye on like resource utilization, but not much besides that.
Not much for the logs itself. Okay. Yeah, because
I find it's really expensive for the logs themselves.
At work, I have it set up to where every Docker container has its own CloudWatch log.
Oh, so you can access it through CloudWatch. It's its own group, I guess.
From what I remember, because it was like years ago that I set it up, I think it's like something that comes standard on the Amazon AMI. You just have to when you install Docker, it's just like a setting.
Oh, yeah, because there's some things for work that I have to look at the logs for. So first I'm trying to learn more AWS CLI from that tool. And so what I was doing is I was doing a watch in Linux. I was doing a watch over grabbing the most recent AWS logs. And I have this big long string where first it will grab the most recent stream and then insert that into the call to grab the logs. And then I kind of do a head and grab the top of it, and I'll just do a watch on that. But I found this tool called AWS Logs, and it actually gives you an output similar to like tail-f, like if you wanted to tail the logs in the terminal. So you can watch real time all the streams within a log group updating. So it has some easy time filtering and a watch flag, so you can just hit AWS log or AWS logs get the group all and then -w and timestamp, a timestamp flag, and then you'll just have it. It'll just keep printing to your terminal as the logs are coming through, which means you can also T it, so you can pipe it through T, save that file. But there's like there's a AWS stack that I have in one of the groups that I'm working at work, and so there's like multiple AWS instances that I have to kind of watch and keep an eye on while I'm testing. So if I pass in something to the web service passes, or the data loader passes to the web service, one of the two. So there's various things that I have to kind of keep an eye on to see if there's any bugs coming out or any exceptions being raised. And I just don't like going to the CloudWatch browser and having to keep all these tabs open just to view the logs, and they don't even update in real time. So
yeah, it's not very good in my opinion. But
yeah, you
No,
just have
I don't think AWS ever intended anyone to use their website to do anything. They wanted you to use their APIs, and for us lowly people, they made a website.
Mm-hmm.
I've been really enjoying. So at work we use Watchdog, or no, Datadog. I've been really enjoying using Datadog
to consume the logs.
Well, it does, yeah. So logging as well, but it does a lot of other things like application performance monitoring. It monitors your queries. You do like a P99 insights into your database queries, but also does other things on top of that. But nice dashboards too for like your Redis clusters and actually any kind of server or infrastructure clusters. But as far as like a tools go, it's been a really nice tool. I've enjoyed using it.
Nice.
It's also nice that I don't have to configure any of it, so someone else does it.
You just call IT, like, hey, it's broken, fix it.
Yeah, we have a SRE team that takes care of that, and not my problem.
Yep. Speaking of, do you have any updates on your status project, your IP, and I remember you were
Uptime monitor?
yeah, there you go. I remember you talked about that a while back.
Sort of. So I've been had another project that kind of came up, and I'll talk more about that hopefully next month. We'll see if August is productive. But the only progress I've made on that recently is I got it running through the Laravel Vapor service, which is like a CI/CD and / Terraform-ish service. Anyway, it deploys it out on AWS Lambda amongst other resources. Like it utilizes DynamoDB, RDS instance, S3, CloudFront on top of S3 for CDN caching. So that's working. And then I got another server running on the East Coast in AWS that's also connected to the same instance. So I'm able to do actually geographical checks, and that part is working. And yeah.
Nice.
So that was kind of a feat in itself, just trying to change the application around a little bit to work in serverless, because that's what Lambda essentially is, where there is no state at all. So, but yeah,
it just ran as a thread, right? It's just that service or whatever you have it's just ran as kind of like a thread wherever it's being hosted.
In Lambda.
Yeah.
It actually runs in a Docker container, but you basically get another instance of it per request, and it does the same exact thing for background queues too, which is nice. So most of my uptime checks run in a background queue, utilizing SQS for the queuing system, and so it's nice because the Lambda just scales, and so if I have 5 checks, I only pay for 5 checks. If I have 1,000 checks, I pay for 1,000 checks. But by the standard rate limit that AWS provides you, I can run 1,000 concurrent requests. So that's kind of nice.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, so there was that's really the biggest thing that I had to do. There was some, like I said, there was just some nitty gritty stuff that went around that and DNS and whatnot. But there's other things I'm trying to figure out now that I've been running it in a production like environment that I'm noticing. So I'm still trying to resolve how to handle some of those situations. For example, this may be a serverless thing. I don't know. I haven't encountered this on my laptop when running this, but sometimes I get an exit code of 0 when running the curl request. Not 000 like we've talked about before, but just 0.
Oh, I was gonna say, is this the same kind of?
That sounds familiar.
I know, I remember that.
I wish. So that one, I kind of know what's going on there, and even though I haven't fully implemented it, I intend to actually, do something with that 000 exit code. But this is just exit code 0, and I haven't really figured out like what that really means. I think.
Isn't that usually successful though?
It's supposed to be the HTTP code. That's the thing, not the status code.
Oh, weird.
That sounds super familiar.
So
God.
generally, you have to send in your Lambda, you have to send your custom HTTP code back, or like a string or something. And if you don't, and you just complete your execution, then it'll tell you on the dashboard that execution has failed, most likely. So it might be that. I've run into that before. Assuming it's not that. I don't know.
I'll take a look at that. Yeah, like I said, I'm not too sure what's going on there yet. I haven't investigated too deeply. But that is one weird one that I'm seeing specifically when it's running in Lambda. Now, the nice thing about running in Lambda, though, to Justin's point, comment that he made last week of IP blocking. At one point when I was running this, I noticed there was like over 150 different IP addresses that were used to make requests. And so that's kind of a nice thing, right? Because I pretty much get a new IP address every single time.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the IP address that it used when it called out was different each time? Because it's kind of hopping around. Yeah,
it's not guaranteed to be different, but it's certainly not going to be the same.
You can't rely that it's the same.
Right. Which is nice because nobody can actually block me, right?
That's true.
Unless
as long as you're not in as long as you're not in a known block that they could.
Well, then they'd be blocking other services, not just me.
They'd be blocking AWS Lambda, which there's probably things that run in that, I imagine.
Yep. So anyway, that's the kind of the latest on that. Like I said, I had something else that came up that I'm working towards right now. So. But it's still in the works, so I still intend to follow through with it. Yeah, it's been fun. The serverless stuff has been more expensive to pay for up front, I would say, in terms of AWS bills, but there is no infrastructure to manage, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. That is nice.
I mean, there is one server that I manage, which is on the East Coast. That is an actual server running on like a T3 small or T3 nano instance. But it's not web facing. It's not. It's critical to the application, but it's not like the website's going to be down or anything like that. So it's just a background queue worker. So
in Lambda, I'm sure there's a way to configure what your dependencies are, right? I mean, you don't have access to the server then if it's just ran in a Docker container. They would have to know what your service depends on, right?
In this case, in this case, it's a custom image.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
Like a super lightweight VM image.
And so you have to make that and push it up.
Image. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess I was thinking Lambda as being like serverless, like function, like all you'd have is a code function that is instantiated somewhere.
You do have that, and by default there are several runtimes that are supported. Let me see if I can find them.
So the Lambda basically is like if you spun up a container, but then didn't necessarily shut it off between runs. And so they have like out of the box stuff, like their stuff to run things like Perl, Python, JavaScript, Java, and they do all kinds of runtime magic to try to basically return it back to a clean state between runs, even though it's not technically. So you can get some weirdnesses there, but then you can still run like full-on Docker, I think, containers on Lambdas.
Yeah, you provide a runtime API here that I think you can use a image. And that's the part that I didn't have to do myself because the Vapor service that comes from Laravel handles that for me, which is beautiful.
Another thing, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so the other thing, so automatic scaling is super nice. But also the pricing on Lambda itself is pretty appealing. Yeah, so I think this is East Coast, but I think the pricing is the same for Oregon. Yeah, 20 cents for 1 million requests. But those requests are like, I think at the 128 megabyte tier and running for, like they do this gigabyte per second type thing. So.
And there's.
You pay for RAM seconds, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think it's gigabyte seconds, which they kind of, I think they kind of throw it in there. But it's, I mean, it's pretty cheap. Like if you use half a gig of memory and you do 3 million requests in a month, and each request runs for an entire second, you're looking at paying $18 for that month for compute.
That's not too bad.
That's not bad at all. And
maybe they'll start pushing developers to make less memory-hungry code to now save money, where before it was just limited, technology. Now you're just gonna spend a buttload of money if you're memory-hungry. Yeah,
so you have to design your applications a little bit differently. Even if you're if you're going full microservices, this is kind of what it's intended for. But even if you're in a monolith, you can still design your application such that various components and domains of the application are kind of independent. And like an example that for Is It Up, Laravel provides really nice built-in queuing system for background jobs, but also event listeners. So as a built-in internal like pub sub system almost within itself, where I could post events that happen. And then I have various listeners plugged in, and I can, with one line of code, I can say that this listener needs to run in a background queue, so it's not running the same thread, which is nice. But there's still that trade-off where you're going from running, for example, one job that runs for 5 seconds and everything else runs for 1 second, to try and stay, level out, so it's a level playing field. You're not paying for too many seconds. Because you also get charged per request. So if you try and go down from like a half-second request down to like a quarter-second request, it may not always be worth it to do that either, because you have more requests that you're processing.
And this all feeds back to one database. I mean, you'd have to have something centralized, even though you're having all these workers kind of that can scale.
So I mean, this is where the pricing kind of initially is a little high, because I'm paying for RDS as well, even though it's a small instance. But the security group is set up such that I can access this anywhere. So this is just a hosted database service. And in reality, I could replace this with a VM running Postgres myself if I wanted to. But
how about DynamoDB? Isn't DynamoDB better suited for this?
DynamoDB is more of a cache-based service than like a SQL, which I do utilize in place of Redis at the moment. So DynamoDB is a default. Redis, DynamoDB, and some other ones are default cache drivers within Laravel, so I don't really have to do anything myself. But DynamoDB is cheaper to run than Redis. There are some limitations with it though, but yeah.
And for pings, you don't have a problems with the cold starts, right? Because it doesn't really matter in your case.
No, so Vapor service itself has a warming feature where yeah, it has warming built in. So every 10 minutes it'll make a request to my application just to keep it. But also my queues run just to my own testing. My queues run like, I have one that runs every minute at least, so the queues are warm. But yeah, I mean, the nice thing is, like I said, there's no infrastructure to manage, and everything is distributed. So, I get that for the money at least. So I don't have to. I could just focus on building this thing rather than, running a Jitsi server where I could just pay for Zoom.
There's trade-offs everywhere.
Focus. You got to focus.
I bet you could make Jitsi a container if somebody hasn't already containerized it and run it as a Lambda if you wanted to.
Yeah, and then just wrap it with your own name and logo, and boom. There you go.
Well, one thing I will say about AWS, though, is like while it has some really nice features, there's definitely some things that I just don't want to do within the AWS ecosystem. Logs is one of them. So I set up Papertrail for logging. While I like Datadog, I don't want to spend the money Datadog, and Papertrail has a free version that I'm barely meeting. So
staying within.
I am careful to on my log statements.
I have to pick some of those up pretty soon.
But the other thing is email, like Vapor configured SCS for me, which I got authorized to send emails with and spam people. And it works. Like there's nothing about it that doesn't work. It's just, I feel like a service like SendGrid, for example, is just much more user-friendly. Like there's just nicer features there. I could probably do more with it. So I don't know. Maybe someday I'll switch from using SES to SendGrid. But the pricing on SES is also really affordable. It's just not. Aside from sending an email, it's not super useful, I think. But those are more just preferences than anything else.
I think it's good coding practice to try to make your software platform agnostic, so that you're not tied into AWS ecosystem or Google ecosystem, where you could run it on your own server if you want to, or you could pick up and move cloud providers. And I understand that's not always practical. Sometimes there's really appealing features that are proprietary capabilities of some of these platforms, but if I was
when you
doing
got to get up and move,
software, yeah, exactly. And if you're looking at it from like, what if we have to get up and move, and then also what if we want to sell this product to somebody else and they take it over, and then you're tied to an ecosystem that they don't use and they have a preference there, that can be a major.
It's easier to sell when they know they don't have to be stuck in the ecosystem you chose. If you're just like,
I don't think that's a big selling point, though. Like nobody's going to go around saying, "Oh, you're not in Azure, we're not going to buy your product." It's like they would work around that.
I mean, yeah, if it's appealing enough, but I mean, I don't know. I think there's a multitude of reasons to stay platform agnostic, and portability has a lot of different appealing reasons. And I've written things that aren't platform agnostic, and been like, well, it's just stuck here then because I use this. I mean, when I was doing Microsoft ecosystem stuff, they were really big on that, especially in the early Azure days. Like that was their entire thing, is this is a platform where you can just write code and push your code straight to us. And they've gone more into the infrastructure side, but there's appealing things about that. So I don't know.
So I agree with that in theory, but in practice, unless it's something few hundred lines of code, it can get pretty hard. And there's this guy, Corey Quinn. He's like an AWS expert. Mm-hmm. He keeps saying all the time, "Oh, multi-cloud, it's a lie. Unless you're Netflix or something in that magnitude that you need to actually basically use Azure and use AWS and use GCP and all that. I mean, it's probably not worth it. If you're like a single developer or a two-developer team, you just don't have the resources to spend re-implementing these things. But I agree, it's nice, but it's hard.
Multi-cloud reminds me. I mean, when he says that it's a lie, what he's saying is 99% of the people who think they need it don't actually need it, and they're never going to.
Yeah.
It's not worth it for them to put the development effort into it, and the availability of platforms like Amazon is so high that it's never going to be an issue for them. But Yeah, I don't know. It reminds me a lot of when NoSQL really started taking off and had all these amazing capabilities, but then people started using it for things that totally needed relational databases just because it was the hot buzzword at the time. Like, kind of same deal. And, developers always fall back onto, I've got to get this thing working in this crunch of both time and money, and if there's something that will give me a shortcut to get there, then I got to take it. I really don't have a lot of choice. I got to do, if somebody's offering me a proprietary solution to this that's affordable that I can just plug in here versus whatever, and I get it. That makes sense. So
I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen. Nobody told me. I was like pointing to things in the screen the whole time.
There we go. Yeah, there's the price per 100 milliseconds of.
Yeah, this is the Lambda pricing. This is the example I showed you where half a gig of memory for 3 million executions a month, running for 1 second each time. You're looking at $18 in requests.
So you can get substantial savings for workloads. Probably not like yours, because yours pretty much needs to be running all the time. But if there's very transient workloads that only need to be up, maybe like for 30 minutes or an hour out of 24 hours, and they can spin up and spin down on request, then you can see substantial savings here. But even running it 24/7, that pricing doesn't look too horrible.
No, yeah, it's not. So yeah, for myself, I'm hoping to open up an API where I can integrate with other devices that can be pinged. And I could potentially see those requests, being fairly sizable. So that's one reason why I decided to go with Lambda, but because there's that scalability thing, and DynamoDB is pretty similar in pricing. $1.25 per million write request units. So this is another thing you got to read up on. Is like, what does Amazon define as a unit? But 25 cents per read request, which I think for where I'm at right now, I'm probably paying like $1 for DynamoDB or something like that, if that. Yeah, I think I'm even under that. SQS is also super cheap. This is the queuing service. And I'm pretty sure I'm at the free tier still for SQS. So I think I'm at the free tier for Lambda as well, but I got to double check that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm definitely vendor locked right now to AWS, but I'm also okay with it.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from using whatever tools make life the easiest and get your software written and up, but
there's always a balance.
Get it.
Totally.
Yeah, I get it. Like, there's like that part of you that wants to be independent and not reliant, but
it's like writing an app, iOS and Android. Unless you use one of React Native or something like that, it's too.
Yeah.
I think it comes from joining projects that had taken all the shortcuts, and now you're having to deal with the fallout, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Now we have a lot of pain.
It's hard to call AWS Lambda a shortcut, like.
No. I think it's more towards kind of like what Justin was saying about, being more just architecting it as agnostic and making design decisions that way, where other people who maybe, take too many shortcuts or too many ill-thought ideas on architecting it, that it bites them a lot because they didn't really plan it out very well. But not that this is, I guess I'm more to what he was saying on platform agnostic. I agree with that.
No, yeah, I get it. It's like a very difficult balance that I hear from a lot of people who run their own like software companies on the side. Even at a small scale of like $500 a month of revenue, they're still battling with these questions of like, oh, I should have done this because now I'm feeling the pain. It's like, I don't want to be in that situation, even with 5 customers,
Yep. That's the danger when you start doing a service, is like, what if I get in this thing upside down and I'm obligated to keep it running, but in time and or money or both, it actually ends up costing me more than abandoning it, and that can be a real thing. Yeah, we've all felt that, like when a family member I asks me to build them or help them build a computer. Now I'm like, no way, man. Like, I used to be like, oh yeah, you should get this, you should get that, and then I was like,
yeah, but you're on the hook for support now
for like 5-10 years. Yeah, you're like, you remember that computer that you like told me what kind of video card to get 7 years ago? Well, it's doing this now.
Yeah, I used to jailbreak people's iPhones too, So they're like, hey, can you jailbreak my phone? And it's like, okay, sure, and then I do it. This was like, just 8 years ago.
Yep.
And then I'd get a call like, oh man, my phone, it just keeps rebooting, like it's messed up. What happened? It's like, what did you do? Like, I don't know. I downloaded something off that app, and I don't know what it was, and now it broke my phone. It's like, well,
I dunked it in a bucket of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't do that no more. Sorry. There's no jailbreaks.
Yeah.
They're all done.
I started referring people to like Wix when they start asking me to build them sites.
Build a website.
And you know what? I'm actually using Wix for Is It Up as well.
It's good. Yeah, Wix is a cool service. Like, I think it's great.
It's still a template that I jacked, but I kind of like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But also, it makes like SEO optimization super easy. My father-in-law's automotive shop, I also put it up in Wix initially, then gave it over to him to deal with because.
Oh man, I didn't know your father-in-law ran MasterTech.
Yeah, you been there?
Our car had we took it in to get what died on it. It was a pretty big job. It was having a coolant leak, and it ended up needing I think it was like a water pump, but like you had to take the entire engine apart to get to this freaking water pump, and it ended up being like a 2-week project. But they did great. It works fine now. We
Nice.
Priced it out at like 3 or 4 different places because it was so much, and they were all like really super similar. And I was like, wow, okay. Whoever designed this engine decided the water pump required disassembling the entire motor to get to. So.
What kind of car?
It's a 2012 Lincoln MKS, so it's like that dual overhead cam 3.6 liter V6, but apparently the water pump's buried in there somewhere. Besides that, It's been a great car, and it was just leaking a little bit. It wasn't like really super bad, but it would have gotten worse. So.
Gotcha.
Cool. Yeah. Cool business.
My wife manages like the manager for him, so.
Nice.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, like I said, Wix has been great for landing pages and stuff like that. They have really nice SEO features that just makes easy work of optimizing your site for Google to crawl.
Yep.
And then they also do like really nice contact forms and chats and just other things that most businesses would use. Because why would I want to rewrite that? I suck at making landing pages, so Wix was super easy, and then I can switch it out whenever I need to.
Yep.
Nice. Do you have an affiliate link? That sounds like a great ad right there for Segway.
So we need to hit up Wix for some money, and then Datadog and Amazon. I think
that should be charging sponsors.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just sold us.
So one thing I actually debated on for quite a while was like, if you go right now to Is It Up, you go to the landing page. This just goes straight to Wix, but when you click login or register, if you notice, this took you to a different domain, which is app.isitup.dev. This is something that I need to convince myself for a long while on, but eventually I did. So the part that runs in AWS runs along this app subdomain. And this is actually something that I've been noticing more and more that a lot of big companies do, even Datadog.
Yep.
I only noticed that recently. They keep their primary application ran in a separate subdomain, separate infrastructure from the landing page, presumably for various reasons, maybe similar reasons. I don't know. But I didn't think I would appreciate this so soon in the process, but I'm actually really appreciating it now. Just the simple fact that I do
all
not
together in one.
Yeah, initially I thought it looked kind of weird, but right now I love the fact that I can just open up Wix on like my phone or tablet, make a change to the landing page, and I don't have to pull out VS Code and do a whole deploy and build.
No,
So that's been kind of nice.
That's super common. Like even look at massive applications like Nest, Nest.com and Home.Nest.com, which is what actually runs all their camera control software, is a totally different subdomain on different infrastructure and everything. Yeah, do like Nest.com, and then now even if you just hit the sign in button there, I think it'll send you to Home and Home.net. Yeah, My Nest Home. And that's, totally different infrastructure. And that's where you actually log in to view and manage your cameras. That's just another example of one. But like a whole bunch of really big apps are like that.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty nice, actually. But yeah, I don't know why. It just took me a while to really accept that. But
I get it. I thought it was weird too, but when not on your site specifically, but when I'd seen a couple things do that, but it's like an industry default to do it like that now. And if you have multiple apps, to have different domains, and sometimes it's not even a subdomain, sometimes it's a totally different TLD, or like a totally different domain name altogether for just that app.
Some mobile apps are associated with a different TLD than their parent company.
Yeah, there's like M dot something, and that's the mobile version of that site.
Well, even like Discord. Discord has a whole different TLD for the Android app that it's registered under.
Oh, that's interesting.
Discord.com.
Interesting. But all right, I went on a long enough rant about that.
No, it's interesting stuff, and it sounds like a lot of us are kind of getting our hands into AWS. I know I'm trying to learn as much as I can, and like this accessing it through the terminal and getting familiar with SQS and CloudWatch, S3, all of that. So
S3, so CloudFront in particular, is very fascinating. I've been learning some of the things that I can do in terms of caching recently. Just some things that, so a guy I work with at TrueCar who left, he was really good at this in particular. Apparently you can use CloudFront to crawl parts of your site, and then it'll cache that request, store it, and then when that request comes back in from the load balancer, it'll request the cached version from CloudFront and serve that version instead of hitting your application directly. And you can tell it to crawl like every certain period of time, which is actually super nice. Like, I did not know you could do that. And then it just stores this cache. I think the combination of like S3 and CloudFront itself. But
so, because I thought the whole point of CloudFront was that basically you were being DNS routed to a regional data center.
Yeah, so you're going to a local edge or whatever they call it. That's
like the CloudFront would have to be like acting as a middleman all the time, unless you have something running in every data center to be the middleman.
So I think the request always goes through the load balancer, which is going to be in one data center. The advantages here is that if it loads the cache from CloudFront, what you're really saving on is not the fact that you're close to that edge in particular, but the fact that you didn't have to render a server-side page and get that request back to your.
So it saves
your
you
server.
resources if a lot of people are hitting the same thing. It doesn't
saves you resources. Yep, and then in our case in particular, we do it for load times, so it helps with SEO boosting and just page load times. So
Have any of you guys used Cloudflare? So there's CloudFront. Cloudflare is like a little bit different, but they have some services similar to that, as well as DDoS protection and some other capabilities, SSL offload. Not sure if anybody here has messed with Cloudflare.
I haven't, but they had downtime, like, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I heard about that.
They had
yeah,
a big
friend of mine got
Atlanta
hit with that.
misconfigured router or something.
It's like every 2 weeks they have that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, a friend of mine. He didn't know what happened, but I think he has like a Pi hole, right? So like a Raspberry Pi ad blocker, and I think he had his DNS routed through Cloudflare, and then his internet went down. He's like, "What's going on? My internet's down. Like I can't get to anything." And then he realized it was Cloudflare that was the problem, so he had to manually change it over to Google's or someone else's, and then he was like, "Oh, okay, now I got internet again." But it just took his whole internet down. It's like, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cloudflare does pretty good at that stuff too.
Yeah, I was going to say it has a lot of similarities. Yeah, let me see if I can. I'm going to do a quick share real quick. I'll show you guys. So yeah, this is Cloudflare. You can put multiple sites on here. This is this RM Theater one here, but you can see on analytics it shows 43 requests in the last 24 hours, and it actually uses its cache for some of them, so cached versus uncached, that it was able to serve up. And then if you actually go to bandwidth, it'll show you how much of the traffic that was served for this site was cached versus uncached. Unique visitor, and then it's got security. Like it also does threat monitoring, right? So it got a bad browser threat from France, apparently. It'll show you performance, DNS workers. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of different options, and then it's got, you can purge your cache, and then if you're under attack, you can actually show visitors a JavaScript challenge when they're visiting your site or development mode that bypasses cache altogether. Yeah, you can actually put on different rules. You can see here, like right now I'm on free 0 a month, and you get a fair number of features, but you can see some of the other stuff that you get with the more expensive
enterprises. Get in touch because the price is gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt, yeah, for sure.
You have to ask, you can't afford it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate, but yeah. So I mean, it's kind of an interesting platform that sounds pretty similar. Yeah. I found
it's
it
acting as though acting as the firewall, essentially, right?
Yeah. So you actually take your domain and you point your DNS at Cloudflare, and then Cloudflare proxies it to your backend server. So if you start getting hammered a whole bunch, it actually has smart stuff that'll be like, okay, you're getting a denial of service attack from this block of Chinese IP addresses, and it'll just black hole them and allow everybody else through. Or, if there's a bunch of repeat, it'll actually do cache. You can put your SSL certificates here and have them actually serve those to offload and do the page encryption. You can put page rules in that do various stuff. I don't use a lot of the features here, but some of the main things are the firewalling, the caching, speed optimization, and
so does it have a WAF built into it?
WAF. Not sure what a WAF is, so maybe.
Web application firewall.
Oh, web application firewall. I think, let's go under firewall rules. I haven't put anything in here, but let's see what kind of rules you can put. Test
Block
field,
SSH.
URI path, X4 4, known bots, threat score equals. So, and then choose an action. Block JavaScript challenge, captcha challenge, allow or bypass. And there may be other things that let you do, like, let's look at managed rules. Okay, so it's got prevents attacks caused from a flood of HTTP requests, UDP packets, TCP packets with send flag or ACK flag, and prevents attacks from a flood of quick requests, which I'm not even sure what a quick request is. But...
I know they have a bunch of cool stuff. They even have like their own version of Lambda serverless stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw some. Is that this workers thing?
Yeah, I think.
Run JavaScript service workers in hundreds of Cloudflare data centers around the world. Yeah, I'm not super sure. I haven't messed with a lot of this stuff, but it is kind of a neat service. I don't know. I thought it was worth mentioning just based off the context of the rest of the discussion, but I've only ever used the free service, and it seems like they've got a lot of other stuff that's paid that's maybe more powerful.
That'd be fun to play around with.
Yeah. So, apps. Yeah. Explore apps, your installed apps, your developed apps. Yeah, they've got a whole platform thing, and I'm always get interested seeing new stuff that people are doing that aren't Amazon, Google, or Microsoft. So,
is the denial of service protection, that's not included in the free tier, is it?
It is, yeah. That's in the free tier, which is mainly why I use it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think you can do more. You can do fancier stuff, and you get some caching even with the free tier as well. I'm not sure what all the limitations on the free tier is, but you do get some DDoS protection there, which can be handy.
That's even nice for just running something locally on your own house, you know?
Yep.
Don't point your domain directly at you, pointing through Cloudflare and then back to you.
And then, yep.
Actually, I think it's Cloudflare that has the Quad 1 DNS, right? That you can actually do, I think it's TLS over DNS.
Oh, that encrypted DNS.
Yeah, encrypted DNS. Yeah. You can set that up.
Is it DNS over HTTPS? Is that what they're doing?
That might be it too. Yeah, it's just encrypted. Instead of just having your DNS go out, you can configure.
It's like DNS sec, right? DNS SEC.
Yeah,
like if you do a Google search for that, DNS SEC. Yeah, it's DNS security. I'm not sure exactly.
It's separate from sec, but
okay.
Sec is all about ensuring that the record is legit and hasn't been forged.
Right, which is when you look at SSL for websites, that's what you're doing is the certificate and that end-to-end encryption makes sure that you haven't been subjected to a man-in-the-middle attack where somebody over the internet intercepted your communication and is replacing anything with it. And the vulnerability there is if you don't have DNSSEC, somebody could potentially change your DNS, like you could get a virus and they could put a host record in or something and then point you at a site that isn't really the site that you think that it is. But DNSSEC somehow prevents that by kind of validating that you're at the right domain.
So like ISPs have their own DNS servers. It prevents the case where you're using like an ISP. The ISP gets compromised and you're like, what the shit? Like, why is this record pointing here?
Yep.
Yeah, there's two. There's DNS over TLS and DNS over HTTPS. So I just posted a link in the chat of Cloudflare, of course, because they are one of the first ones to
which those prevent snooping.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Okay. So it prevents people from seeing what DNS lookups you're doing. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's one of the first things that I always suggest to people is don't use your ISP's DNS servers. Like,
yeah.
First time you put the wrong domain in and it's like, oh, Century, like mine says CenturyLink, but I don't know what the Spectrum one says. It's like, oh, you turned a bad domain into an ad. Oh, that's Brilliant. Okay.
Well, and also if they ever try and do any type of throttling, if it's all encrypted, then they're not going to be able to know what you're really going to. They just know you're going to Cloudflare.
Yep.
Or making requests to Cloudflare, and that's it.
Yep. Same for blocking or filtering specific domains. I hope we're done with all that ridiculousness that people were trying to propose for a while, but
Oh yeah, they always try it, and then
you can buy
luckily,
the streaming package where we don't limit your Netflix bandwidth.
yeah, I forget what was the bill. What was that bill called that they were trying to get through? That
SOPA and PIPA or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yep.
SOPA
Yep.
and PIPA.
And then they wait a little bit, and then they try and
Try it
rename
again.
it, and try it again. Like
The Internet Freedom Act, make it the opposite. Definitely.
yeah, they always name it the opposite. Well, it's named freedom. I like freedom.
I like the internet and I like freedom, so I think I'm for this.
I do
Yeah.
feel like in COVID, I feel bad for some of the ISPs though, because I think a lot of the laws right now don't even let them do quality of service
Oh yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of like, oh, why is our internet suck? It's like, because all the other people deal with it.
Everybody's at home watching Netflix, and
Mhm.
you're over here trying to have a video conference, and it's not working. Yep.
We have to treat BitTorrent just like it's, grandma. So
Yep.
just because they have 6 million UDP connections, you just got to let it slide.
Get a bigger pipe.
A bigger pipe at certain points when you have that many connections
Yeah.
doesn't help.
So the thing is, like, yeah, they're forbidden from doing traffic shaping for different types of traffic, but not for overall clients. So I think, the route they should be going is, okay, we're going to let you run at 300 megabytes a second for
Well,
a minute or two, and then we're going to throttle you down your
Well, they're not
entire
even-
connection.
They're not even allowed to do client shaping right now, I don't think, because that
They're
would be
not?
throttling, and throttling's prohibited.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I think they should be allowed to do some degree of client shaping. I just think it needs to be really well disclosed exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it.
I think the only real exception is we kind of let mobile get away with it.
Oh yeah,
because-
they've been doing it forever.
But they can probably explain to regulators oh, but it's there's only so much tower, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
The problem is that the decision makers don't really have a good understanding of the technology or what any of these different features or things do, and so they don't.
Well, there used to be unlimited, right? And then it truly was unlimited. Then it went to you get 5 gigs or
Yep,
8 gigs,
and
then it
throttle
went
you down after.
and
you
then
go
it
after
went
your
to
5 gigs.
yeah, and then now it's unlimited again. But that is the true. If you hit 25 gigs, you're throttled after a certain number. Unlimited is no longer unlimited. Limited is you hit their secret.
You mean on mobile?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you hit some ceiling that is kind of above the normal, and then you're throttled.
That's a lot. I mean, 25 gigs on mobile is quite a bit.
If that's your only internet source, though, and with
Oh, yeah.
tethering and all that, but you are putting a lot of strain on the network as
Cellular
it being
network.
your main, being your main internet source your home internet as opposed to, just go
when
to
I
Charter.
had unlimited on my mobile, it was only from my phone, and I could not tether, or at least by their contract terms.
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
and we'll see. I've got a 2 gig package. I moved to low bandwidth mode here, so I'm not getting your video, but I've been with you guys since I crashed the app and came back a while ago. So I'm in
Nice.
Bellevue. I'm in Bellevue now. I think I'm in Bellevue.
Yeah, I think they've gone, and different carriers have done various things over the years to do that. And as long as they disclose what they're actually doing, I think it's fine. For a while, it felt like it was punitive because there are people like myself who are grandfathered into unlimited plans at a time when they weren't really allowing unlimited, and it felt like they just wanted to punish you for still sticking on your unlimited plan rather than actually manage their network. But, you know, I
well,
think,
managing their network is putting you on something metered, so you actually pay attention instead of just drive down 405 with a bunch of video going that you can't even watch because you're supposed to watch the road.
Yeah. I totally agree. And then I've known people too who have used cellular as their primary internet connection, and that some of the holes you'd have to jump through to be able to do tethering and stuff. Like AT&T still wants to do that, where if you enable tethering, they want to charge you an extra fee. You can turn your phone into a Wi-Fi hotspot for your other devices, but they charge you a monthly fee to have that capability. It's not just there. And it's like, well, you already paid for the data. I don't see this charging for features that are possible on the hardware device that's consuming your service. You've just decided to bill for it. I don't know.
T-Mobile does that too.
Do they?
Which I actually found kind of nice when I switched from AT&T to T-Mobile, because AT&T, at the time, they only gave me the option of paying for tethering.
Yep.
Which I never really used. And so when I went to T-Mobile, I was like, oh, nice. I don't have to pay for something I don't use. So.
Yeah.
I like Google Fi, even though it's more expensive, at $10 a gigabyte. But I know I can tether, I can do whatever. It's $10 a gigabyte.
And
Yeah.
I wish we had been there. Like, the mobile networks in the United States got away with all this crazy stuff. Like the idea that the hardware that you're using to get on their network with had to be sold to you by the phone company and have a special operating system and firmware version that's specific to them that they have control over, just always seemed ridiculous. I always just wanted it to be like,
That
I buy a
has
SIM card
changed.
and slap it in my phone and I can do whatever I want to on my phone.
To a certain extent, that has changed by the rules, and it had to do when Verizon was fighting against Google for bidding for a bunch of spectrum in the 700 megahertz. At least Verizon's hands are tied with regards to that. They can't. They have to be agnostic. They have to be device agnostic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And I know either I was getting either I was in a bunch of handoffs, or the Verizon was catching up to me because I missed some of the early stuff. But don't worry about it; it's all good.
But who knows in the earlier days too, with like the way standards were and conformance to standards, like there probably were a lot of devices that did stupid shit to their network.
Oh, and I can tell that to be true because I was talking to Ting, at the MVNO and all that, and is trying to get a device from U.S. Cellular onto their network. And they only supported Sprint. And I finally got through to the geeks in the back, and they leveled with me and said there were some things, even though they were both CDMA networks, U.S. Cellular was doing some weird-ass shit to their devices that they didn't know about, and they only had the information necessary for Sprint devices. So, there is weird shit that as they tweak their network, even if they're supposedly the same type of network. Yep. This was at least a CDMA 3G was this issue.
But I remember when 1+1 came out, like there's still a little bit of like the networks had to buy off on you to accept your IMEI.
Oh. Yeah, one plus, right?
So, what do you guys think? Should we wrap it? We go on for about an hour and a half?
Yeah, I need to go help my wife with some stuff, so I was going to have to drop one way or the other. So,
Small announcement, Michael.
What's that?
small announcement. Just a heads up that I will be trying. I will for the ham community. I'm going to be doing a Zarn presentation on Jitsi. So, and it's going to be related to some networking stuff, but it might be of interest to people here. I'll try to post or send it to Michael when I finally have a date for it. So if anyone wants to watch in on that presentation.
Yeah, definitely post it. I'd like to see it too. Slack or whatever else.
Justin, you will definitely see it because I'm going to use your server. So I will give you a direct heads up.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, so next meetup will be September 2nd. Sounds like Kevin will be giving a talk on Terraform.
Yeah.
I think he dropped, so
I think
can't
that's
say
an
no.
accept.
Oh, no, he's still
I
there.
think
Yeah.
I think that was
He's choking on
silent
his
acceptance.
All right, yep, September 2nd, 6:30 p.m. Like I said, hopefully I'll have some more announcements for you guys then. Yeah. Stay safe and take care, yeah.
Yep. Likewise.
All right. See you guys.
Talk to you guys next time. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
But